Hello, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This show brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. DraftKings pick of the week, Jets +7. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bullbrock live to PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. We're out. We're dabbling today. We're live. Kyler Murray, Hollywood Brown, not live so much. They ain't practicing. Kyler Murray, Bullbrock, as you reported, out again with an illness, although he was on the sideline. Hollywood Brown, where is he? Does anybody know?
Saw him in the locker room yesterday, but he was in his street clothes and looked like he was just grabbing a couple things from his locker. Like you said, I'd probably be shocked if we saw Hollywood Brown line it up one more time for the Arizona Cardinals, at least in the 2023-2024 season. The heel injury is something that's been nagging and it continues to kind of keep him sidelined and definitely off the practice field. And they saw that, he wasn't effective while he was trying to navigate the injury. And unfortunately, in a contract year, Hollywood Brown his last performance was a rough one against the Pittsburgh Steelers so many weeks ago.
Yeah, it feels like, I had somebody ask me earlier, like, well, Hollywood can play without practicing. I think those days are done. I think after the removal of him against Pittsburgh and then subsequently the next game against San Francisco, like you can't have him take, no first team reps all week and then try to, trot him out there against Philadelphia's secondary, against Seattle's robust secondary. Like if he's not getting a full week of practice, it's over. And I think the Cardinals probably would love a mulligan to be able to put him on injury reserve. I understand that they wanted to pair him with Kyler Murray to give Kyler Murray the best chance, right? We want to evaluate everybody. Let's let Kyler Murray have success with his number one receiver. They got calls for Hollywood Brown. We can confirm it before Halloween, before the trade deadline. Now, the market was probably a day 3 pick, which to the Cardinals was not worth it if it meant, robust production to end the year. Hell, they were probably still open at that point to re-signing Hollywood Brown. Now it's like you got nothing from Hollywood Brown during this period with Kyler Murray. I mean, go back and look at the games. He's averaging like 20 yards per game, the games that he does play with K1. We've banged on him a lot this year, and I know a lot of people are like, give him a flyer year. Let's do one more. Let's run it back. Who does that benefit, really? This is basically, he's been injured the 2 years you had him. He doesn't fit what you want out of the specific skill set. He's not big. He's not overly physical. Like, it really does feel like Hollywood Brown, I'll echo what I said on Twitter. I think he's done as a Cardinal. I think it's over. And it's so funny. We talk about the need for this franchise to inject some star power, some cachet. You go to any retailer here in the desert. Obviously, you got your Kyler jersey. The most prevalent jersey that I see in the Valley is Hollywood Brown outside of Kyler Murray. It's not Buda Baker, right? It's not James Conner. You think there'd be 3s and 6s everywhere. Maybe Trey McBride's 85s. Right. There are Hollywood Brown jerseys for sale everywhere. You would think he's their second best player. In all actuality, he's a player that I liked the trade at the time. You and I both did on draft night. It is, people are ripping the Russell Wilson trade, and rightfully so. Like, it's going to be a bad trade for the Cardinals historically.
Absolutely.
It already is. They've lost the trade.
I was talking to Totri from PHNX Sun Devils, and he was like, what did they trade Hollywood Brown for? It was the 23rd overall pick, and then, Baltimore, they think then traded down again to 25, and they get Lindenbaum, who has been fantastic. He's been great. And, as much as we like Yelda Froholt to have the center position pretty much locked down for the next 5 to 8 years, I'll sign up for that. I mean, if you could take backsies, you're absolutely take backseating that trade. And,
Absolutely.
Hollywood Brown came from Baltimore, via Oklahoma, where he was a first-round pick for the Sooners. And, of course, he developed that relationship with Kyler Murray when they were terrorizing the Sooners' first team on the scout team, which is just a legendary story, right? And then they star together for the one fateful season. They make the run to the college football playoff semifinal. Kyler Murray is your Heisman Trophy winner. He's the first guy drafted in the top 10 in 2 sports leagues. And then Hollywood Brown goes and, he has some pedestrian seasons in Baltimore and then forces his way out of the Ravens. And then he picks up where he left off with the Sooners, right? Where, they're playing a pretty similar offense. Now they're playing more of like a pro West Coast kind of offense.
Yeah.
And after a couple games, a couple adjustments from the opposition's defense, not finding any open spots, not making an impact. Like early on when Josh Dobbs was rolling, and people might scoff at the idea, but it did happen.
It did.
You can't erase it from time. Joshua Dobbs against the Giants and the 49ers, and sandwich in between there, the Dallas Cowboys, he played really decent football. And Hollywood Brown was a big part of that, right? He was huge on third downs. He was making splash plays for this passing attack. And then that was it. It was so much of a sample size that you can't lean on it statistically and say, this is what he's capable of. Because I think that was the outlier. That was the anomaly as far as how he would fit in this offense. He just feels like he is a round peg trying to be fit in a square hole as far as this offensive scheme goes. So like when we talk about, what are the options for Hollywood Brown? It's like, is he going to be a guy is he going to command a 1-year prove-it deal? Does he do it here? I don't think so. I mean, where does he fit? People are saying, put him in the slot. What? Why put him in the slot now? He's 5 years into his NFL career. Sometimes guys are just who they are. And I just think you're really at that point reaching, and you still have a general manager and an offensive play caller. When I check their dating profiles, it's do not inquire if not 6 feet or above at wide receiver.
That's bad news for your boy. Luckily, I'm not on those apps today in the year of our football.
There's plenty of fish in the sea there, Johnny. There's plenty of fish still out there.
I've netted a big one, thankfully, and I don't have to go out in the open waters again. It'd be hard pressed for your boy to find love again on those apps. Good hell. All right. It is funny you bring up the college.
Can you imagine? What's your opener? Like, do you think Kyler Murray is the franchise quarterback for the Cardinals?
I think my opener is I'm employed and I own a home, but I don't own a home. All right. So it's funny you bring up the college football playoff. Hollywood Brown didn't even play in that game. Why didn't he play? Because he was injured. CeeDee Lamb had over 100 yards with Kyler Murray. So Hollywood Brown's best version, he wasn't even available in college. He was hurt in Baltimore. He's been hurt in Arizona. It's over. It's over. Pour one out. A lot of people are just romanticizing the prove it deal. The prove it deal to me is less about money, although money's a big part of it, and more about taking reps away from ascending players.
Yeah.
This could be it for Hollywood. We could have already seen the best version of Hollywood Brown. Now, for his sake, I hope not. But it's you're telling me they had Marvin Harrison Jr. and another player in the draft and somebody in free, and we spit shine all that up. And it's you want to watch Hollywood Brown take reps with the ones next year after what we've seen this year? No, he can't run block. This team wants to run the football. I appreciate his ability to try and play through it. That was a mistake now in hindsight. And I think it's over. Is it over for Kyler Murray though? Why isn't Kyler Murray practicing 2 days in? Are you buying the flu bug thing? Buddha had it. Is that really what's happening?
It's different, right? We talked to Buddha. Buddha said he was trying not to defecate in his pants. It was different.
You think Kyler has a head cold? What do you think's happening?
Yeah, it sounds like he got what Gannon described it as was the holiday bug. I don't know what the hell that means. But they said point blank, are you concerned he's going to miss Philly? No. And then he's back there he's on the sidelines today. People are like, Kyler's not practicing today. And then your boy put on his 2020 vision, and I look across the field, and in street clothes, there he is in his beanie cap and his Cardinals warm-ups. There was Kyler Murray. So he's out there. He's getting the mental reps, and I think he'll probably be back to practice tomorrow.
You think 1 day is enough ahead of Philadelphia?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Tyrod Taylor was having pretty good, easy time with this Philly defense. No, I mean, it's not ideal, but this is part of the deal as far as this time of year with anybody. Everybody's playing hurt.
Jordan P. Tank for Marvin in full effect. If this was this time next week, Jordan, you bet your ass that's what would be happening. But I think we're 1 week too early for that. And I also think I think it's too late for sitting Kyler in the finale. I don't think it's the team that I watch go to Chicago and be non-competitive. Bo, you've mentioned this a couple times. You do not have to sit Kyler Murray to lose games, unfortunately. This roster is so depleted,
Yeah,
especially on the defensive side. And Philadelphia is going to be up for it. I hope the Cardinals are up for it, and I want to see Kyler Murray against Philadelphia. So I would feel cheated if he doesn't play. But I mean, next week's all about the tank job. If they lose this week, and we're talking about they're basically locked for a top 1 to 2 pick, you would hypothetically think. So yeah, no Kyler Murray, but we do have Brad Spielberger
that's right.
on the line coming up here in a second, Bo.
Yeah, we do. Brad is dialed in. He's already putting out his top 100 2024 free agents. I mean, we already have started looking ahead to the offseason because it's going to be so exciting. And we've got some great little pieces of content coming your way as far as what to be excited for in 2024 for the Cardinals, and also looking back at this shitbox of a year that 2023 was, even though, hope springs eternal as far as the new organization in the new regime. But Brad is already identifying, the top names in free agency. And I highly encourage you to check it out at pff.com and follow him at PFF_Brad. But, we're going to get into the conversation about Hollywood Brown, because I think Brad, like us, this situation is fluid. Like weeks ago, when he saw Hollywood Brown and how he was being as good of a teammate and player that you could possibly be, not, worried about his contract, gassing up Kyler Murray and his return at the time and saying all the right things. And then we saw just the lack of production during the 5-game span of the 6 that Kyler Murray played in there with Hollywood Brown. Now you're pivoting. You're like, okay, he goes from a guy that's going to command close to $20 million on the open market per season to a prove-it deal, to could they franchise tag him, which would be a lot of money for all guaranteed towards 1 year, to now you're just like, okay, he's probably going to just go see if he can develop anything on the open market and then weigh his options.
Yeah, I think that's the right move for Hollywood. I never want to tell a player what to do with their finances and what to do pertaining to their careers, like what's in your best interest. I think that's kind of hogwash. And I think if Hollywood Brown wanted to play with any quarterback, he would want to play with Kyler Murray, his best friend. I think it's going to be more about, listen, at the end of the day, there are going to be teams that are going to pay Hollywood Brown more than the Cardinals based on maybe how they think he's going to fit within the scheme of their offense. And they're going to pull up the tape where he's been productive. But nobody in relation to the Drew Petzing and Shanahan tree is going to operate that way. Think about the teams that run the Shanahan offense. Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, their wide receivers are enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Jefferson, Addison's physical. Osborne looks like Randy Moss every other Sunday. Cleveland's got big receivers. San Francisco with Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. And then the Cardinals have undersized receivers.
Yeah.
Not by choice. It's just what they had left in the cupboard. And then they drafted Michael Wilson, who is 6'2", 6'3". That's what a different team that runs a different offense that's closer to running gun, air raid, Cliff Kingsbury is going to take a chance on him. I wouldn't be. Ben Johnson has made the most out of Amon-Ra St. Brown and some smaller guys in Detroit. Maybe wherever he ends up, they could splurge. Hollywood Brown, though, is number one, he's going to need to pass a physical. And number two, he's going to have an ability to sign what I think is a 1-year deal wherever he goes. But I think he's got more guarantees out the door of Arizona than he does internally. There is no incentive, I'm sorry, for the Cardinals to bring him back at this point. You have to start over.
Bajero 3, dude, step off the shift bar there. Stop the Shanahan Petzing nonsense. He's closer to Hackett. Bajero, we have no clue. He's got one of the worst, the wide receiver group is one of the worst in the league. He's got a quarterback that's coming back from an ACL injury. And you want to say that definitively what Drew Petzing is, and you want to tab him the next Nathaniel Hackett. I think it's a bit unfair. Get off the caps lock and let's just see how this plays out, especially after this offseason. I disagree with that. I mean, look, Shanahan, is that almost as on the opposite end of the spectrum? Sure. But as far as what type of game they want to call and what type of offense they're running, as far as schematically, that's what they're looking for. I mean, one of the telltale signs here, and we're going to get to Brad Spielberger here in just a second. Rondell Moore, everybody's clamoring for Rondell Moore to stay healthy. He's the healthiest he's ever been. He's played in a career high 15 games, and he's got career lows as far as his receiving production. Right? I mean, it just he's. I mean, as far as snaps played, I mean, he's been a gadget player primarily, but he's been in the slot, and we're just seeing him. He's got. He's hit 400 yards receiving his first 2 seasons. He's at 295 right now with a touchdown. And of course, you can supplement it a little bit with 165 on the ground, and that's been necessary at times this season. But I mean, that's what you would call one of their top receivers. Jalen Blair, too early to call Petzing, and it's his first year. Steichen was not very good in his first year in Philly. Great point. Then boom, great second year. He's been a stud in Indy so far. I saw a good point, and I wish I remember who it was on social media that said good coordinators or great coordinators elevate, good players, where it's vice versa. Like great players elevate decent coordinators to great coordinators. Like it's probably more with the player elevating the game of the coaches and making the coaches look good instead of vice versa. Let's get into this as far as Arizona Family Sports, because I was right last night with my prediction that the Suns were going to get back on track last night against the Rockets. No Dylan Brooks, and they waxed that Rocket ass last night with a win. And then the next game is going to be against the Charlotte Hornets that you can check on our family, Arizona Family Sports TV. Check it out for yourself, azfamily.com. They're going to have Suns games link for you that you can click and figure out where to watch. If you're not here in the Valley, if you're outside the Valley, you're here in this great state of Arizona, in Yuma on the west side, or down south in Tucson, or up north in Flagstaff, just log on to azfamily.com. Click Suns games for listing information in your area. AZ Family is a great resource to help you find Phoenix Suns games on Arizona Family Sports. It's time to potentially get back on the bandwagon. They've got some winnable games here, and why not tune into them? Beat up on the Hornets, beat up on the Magic, and hopefully DeAndre Ayton, the Trailblazers next Monday. It's all on Arizona Family Sports.
Arizona's Family Sports Elite, also elite DraftKings Sportsbook app. DraftKings football right now, it's bowl season. It's time for the parade in Pasadena. Tradition meets college football's action in one epic bowl game, and with DraftKings Sportsbook, you can make every play count, folks. So not only can you dabble on what is one of the most robust bowl seasons in recent memory, I unfortunately did not have the USC Trojans last night. We're kind of robbed in some of these early bowl games with, guys sitting out. I'm going to tell you right now, New Year's Day, that's when the big boys are playing, right? And you can bet just $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly if you're a new customer. All you got to do, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Bonus code PHNX, new customers, 150 bonus bets instantly for $5 on college football. And again, Johnny's DraftKings pick of the week, Jets +7 tonight. I love her. Hammer it. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 186 hours after insurance. League Pass reward issued a promo code to redeem subscription and must be claimed by January 15, 2024. See DraftKings.com/promos for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources.
Love to get this guy in here and wishing him a happy new year from Pro Football Focus. Brad Spielberger at PFF_Brad. Brad, how we doing, my man?
Fantastic. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. We have a clean cap entering 2024 for our Arizona Cardinals. Now, the big question is when and how are they going to spend it? And, we were talking off air. They're fortunate in certain areas where they don't have a lot of guys in-house that they have to re-sign. Most of the talent, Brad, on this team, free agent, young players, rookie contracts. If there's a priority for the Cardinals with internally, if you look at this team and what they've got coming off the books, like, do you even see somebody worth like a multi-year contract at this point?
Good question. Probably no, right? We were just chatting a little bit about Marquise Brown pre-show, maybe a one-year flyer, let him bet on himself, kind of in line with his fifth-year option, frankly, right in that wheelhouse. But otherwise, no, I don't think there's any player that you say, oh, I'd love to get this guy back on a multi-year deal, even like a smaller stuff, like a Will Hernandez last year, which I thought was a good priority, a good guy to bring back in the fold. No, I don't see anyone on that list for this year.
How do we view Hollywood's market? I can't think of anybody in the NFL in a contract year that's hemorrhaged more money than Marquise Hollywood Brown the last couple of weeks. How are you seeing his market? Is it maybe in line with a team that's going to have just an absurd amount of cap dollars that can throw some money at him, or is he going to have to look at a prove it deal at this point?
Yeah, it's tough, right? It is the worst timing to kind of miss games towards the end of the year. Maybe if there was some late year magic with his buddy and Kyler Murray, you could see a scenario where Arizona or somebody else kind of said, all right, let's take a gamble on this talent. Obviously, the Cardinals were willing to trade a first round pick for him, send the third back, whatever. But I think it is a one-year flyer route because I don't think there's going to be a strong multi-year offer in free agency. And I think it would be smart of him to say, all right, play 1 year on a one-year flyer, have a better year, a healthier year, more productive season in a better offense, and then see if you can cash in. Still not old, still has the ability to sign a 3, 4, 5-year deal. Right now, I think you look at the historic, like your Will Fullers, your the guys that had high pedigree, are talented, and have shown flashes, even last year for Marquise, stretches of games where he was getting targeted 10 plus times and all that. Bet on yourself 1 year. I have in our article, the free agent top 100 at PFF, 1 year, $12 million, and just try to cash in next offseason.
Yeah, it's interesting. You bring up like Will Fuller. It's a ghost of football past here. And it's like, does Hollywood go that route? Like, is he going to turn into kind of an irrelevant player in the NFL? He's been irrelevant for the Cardinals this year. I hope he can get healthy and help himself, but he just, to where we cover this team, Brad, he just doesn't fit what they want to do. They want these big physical receivers. And I think the better route, frankly, is to look at somebody like T. Higgins or Gabe Davis. Let's start with T. Higgins in the free agent market. Like, do you think that the Cincinnati Bengals are actually going to let him leave? And if so, like, what kind of contract is a player of that caliber looking at?
So the only way he leaves is a tag and trade scenario, in my opinion. So you're giving up draft capital to get him. I don't think they're going to just let him walk in free agency. Look, you're giving up probably a first round pick. I would say a little bit more pricey than a Marquise Brown. Again, that was what, the 25 for him and 100, I think was the exact trade or something like that. You're probably giving up a first and a third. It's not, it's not 2 firsts or it's not anything crazy like that. I wouldn't even say it's a first and a second, but yeah, I mean, he's a, 6 foot, 4, 225 pound, like outside guy, can be a number one, a different caliber of player. And then I think you're giving him, especially with the added trade leverage, it starts with the 2, probably 22, 23, $24 million a year. Look, he hasn't had a good year. He's also been hurt in his own right. But kind of it's interesting. The flip side, he comes back from injury. Jamar Chase goes down, and he's been balling out now for the last 3 weeks. Had 100 plus in a score last week. I want to say the week before he did as well. So yeah, it's a hefty price tag for a T. Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this wide receiver market, and it's there's some star power there. But then the question, like we're talking about with Higgins, is does he become available? Michael Pittman Jr., it seems like it's inevitable that, he either gets tagged or gets a multi-year deal from his current club, the Indianapolis Colts. But then you look at Jacksonville, there's Calvin Ridley. They spent, draft capital to bring him in, but they've also got Josh Allen who could be hitting the free agent market. Does that become maybe an opportunity for the Cardinals? Because they've got to make upgrades all over this roster between Allen and Ridley. Who would they likely tag if they can't work out an extension?
Yeah, they handled that really poorly and just backed themselves into a very bad scenario. And maybe they can find a way to extend Josh Allen before the tag, but he has so much leverage if he knows, hey, we're trying to get this deal done so we can tag Calvin Ridley. And the interesting wrinkle there is, as a part of the trade to Atlanta, or from Atlanta, I should say, if the Jaguars only franchise tag Calvin Ridley, it doesn't elevate the 3rd round pick to a 2nd round pick that they're sending the Falcons this year. If they sign him to an extension, they then owe them a 2nd round pick in this year's draft, not a 3rd rounder. Kind of a funny little wrinkle there. It was the same with Leonard Williams when we went from the Jets to the Giants. That's why the first year they just tagged him and just let it play out. So they didn't give a better draft pick. That's not why they did it, but obviously it was a factor. So I think that they need to tag Josh Allen because someone signing him, I think, in the neighborhood of like $28, $30 million a year if he reaches the open market. I think you have to tag that player. And I think it does open the door for Ridley to leave because he's been okay this year at times, but I'm not sure I'm giving him a strong deal at 29 and then sending a better draft pick as a result. Don't buy into that sunk cost. You made a splash. You try to get Trevor Lawrence, a good young receiver. It worked out okay, and you just kind of move on.
What about somebody like Gabe Davis? You think about super productive at times, and then he has these lulls, these stretches where he doesn't have catches in games, and then he'll pop off for like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Do you think that he's somebody that could command upwards of $20 million per year, or is he somebody that may be better off staying in Buffalo?
Yeah, I don't. So it's funny. The perfect example. He had 0 catches in 4 of 6 games, and then last week had like 6 for 100 and something and a score. And like that's been him his whole career. He had the year of the playoff game where he had 200 plus yards and 4 touchdowns. On the season, he had like 700 yards and like 7 touchdowns. So it was like half his production came in one game. So. And then you add in the fact that like what quarterback is going to better untap like a 17-yard average depth of target, like doesn't create separation, big body outside receiver besides a Josh Allen? Like who's going to get more out of that guy than Josh Allen? I don't really know. So doesn't start with a 2. I think he's definitely more in kind of the mid-tier range, 13, 15, whatever. Again, you get to the market, things can always get crazy. Your price can skyrocket. I always tell this anecdote now. I had Christian Kirk originally at like $12 or $13 million a year. I had some agents that were like, you're insane. You're way too high. He's going to get like 10, 11, and then he got 18. So we were all wrong. I was just less wrong. So anyway, yeah, so you never know. But yeah, Gabe Davis to me he's just like, he disappears at times. You look at his like in breakers, he has like lousy footwork, like doesn't snap off routes. He's just a vertical outside threat. And like I said, Josh Allen getting 800 yards out of him. Who's going to get more than that out of him?
I want to get to the Gannon story this week as he returns to Philadelphia and the Eagles fans continue to cry, tampering and all this. But before we do that, I want to, because we love Monty Ossenfort here at the show, but I want to put you in Monty Ossenfort's chair this offseason. If you were to prioritize free agents for this Cardinals organization, who are you eyeing right out of the gate early March?
I think we are talking about the right positions here. Like, I think receiver makes a ton of sense. I think they would look in that direction. And then for me, I look interior defensive line. I don't know who's going to get out. Justin Madubuike is going to be the big ticket name, the guy that everyone's going to be after. I think he's going to sign a gigantic contract, and maybe Baltimore just ends up tagging him. But he's a difference-making, force multiplier player at this point, has had a remarkable year. And another kind of side conversation of free agency I love to have, I get asked a lot, like, do you think this is a contract year breakout because the player is in a contract year trying to get money, or are they just like the game's slowing down for them, things are clicking, they're just better? And I think Madubuike falls in that second bucket. He's always been a high effort guy, high motor guy, a lot of pursuit tackle, stuff like that. I think there's just more kind of nuance to his game, more counter, pass rush moves, all that. It just all kind of clicked with Mike McDonald. So yeah, receiver and interior defensive line. And then obviously they just waived Marco Wilson. So probably, corner, I think if you can get one of those guys as well.
Real quick, Brad, educate me and our audience as it relates to like the timeline with Kyler Murray, his money this offseason, because the way I've understood it previously is that we would know a decision on Kyler Murray's future well before the draft, because they would have to potentially trade him well before the draft. If they're picking 1 or 2, for no pun intended, they're going to have to show their cards, right, by trading Kyler Murray?
You would think so. So 5 days into the new league year, so around March 20th or so, you will have the 2025, his salary and his roster bonus become fully guaranteed. So like you're kind of taking away a decision from another club if they want to restructure something, or if they want to, navigate a new deal, whatever. Then maybe it doesn't happen, and Kyler is not open to that. But you just want to give a new team, in theory, as much optionality as possible to kind of navigate that conversation. So yeah, I always say, like you saw with the Stafford trade and most of the quarterback trades, they happen in like February, right? They don't actually get, executed, Carson Wentz, etc., until later on. Rodgers kind of the exception. That was an extremely unique case. But for the most part, yeah, because the team wants to know by day one of free agency, how much is earmarked for a quarterback, because everything else spills out from there. So yeah, certainly before the draft, if they end up with the top 2 pick and they're sitting there saying, we love the 2 quarterbacks that everyone's talking about, Caleb Williams and Drake May, and we think we're going that route, you'll probably start having phone calls the day the season ends to kind of figure out the market and gauge the interest in a Kyler Murray.
How do you evaluate Kyler through 6 games and maybe what the team should do this offseason, whether they have the first pick, the second pick, or the third pick? And, obviously we talk about all the holes on this roster. You create another one if you decide to move off of Kyler.
So look, like, it obviously hasn't been pretty, but I think there are some positives to point to that I think you can kind of allocate to Kyler specifically. So, our early down performance is more stable than late down performance, but he has been very good on 3rd and 4th down, 40 of 62, 464 yards, 4 touchdowns to just 1 pick on 3rd and 4th down, a high conversion rate. He's been good in the red zone, 11 of 18 for 80 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, on the whole, it hasn't been great. I think that part of it too is he's been scrambling a little bit, but I think still less than we're normal seeing from him. And I think teams know that he's not trying to take off as often and are just he's not getting as favorable of looks, maybe fewer open throwing windows, because I think teams are not keeping in QB spies and not doing different things that normally helps him out and creates more throwing opportunity for him. So yeah, like, it hasn't been great, but at the same time, we mentioned no Marquise Brown. It's really, obviously no Michael Wilson for stretches too. It's kind of been Trey McBride and kind of a patchwork. And then the O-line has been, I think, improving, but still not a great unit. So I think you can go either direction. I wouldn't nitpick either way. If they kept him, I would say, you know what? I understand it. He's still a very, very good player. Caleb Williams or Drake May turning into Kyler Murray is still, people forget about this stuff. We fall in love with prospects. Like, those guys turning into Kyler Murray is still a 90th percentile outcome in the NFL. Like, it's the guy, these guys fail. I know they're fun and we love them. We watch the college tape, but that happens. So on the flip side, though, I would also be fine with, hey, we're starting over the rookie contract, quarterback window. We have the extra 1st-round pick from Houston, yada, yada, yada. I think both options are valid.
What do you put, speaking of that pick from Houston, the value of that pick has gone down dramatically than what we thought. I mean, the Bears, reaped the benefits of Carolina being incompetent this year with potentially the 1st overall pick. We thought Houston was going to be top 5, top 10 at the worst. Now they could be knocking on the door for a playoff berth. Like, do you see value with that pick this year in potentially moving it for a veteran like we talked about, like a T. Higgins, maybe like a pass rusher that they then could say, okay, elite player in your mid-20s, here's a contract? Or given the lack of quality depth on this team, they need everything. Are they better off just saying, this is a good draft class, we should just stick and pick a tackle, a defensive lineman, a corner, and let the chips fall where they may? Are the Cardinals, I guess, in a position where they should be trading a late first for a veteran player?
Good question. I think, again, normally you probably would make the case of, like, they have so many holes to fill, so why not just, like, stay cheap, all of that. But if you are going to go the direction of keeping Kyler, let's say, why not go trade that first for a Brian Burns or whatever, insert player here, address a glaring need, and don't take the potential of that pick not going, like, you thought it was going to be higher. It isn't. It's not a top 10 pick. Maybe you don't love the class later on. And again, like, all these arguments are often why teams kind of make some poor decisions. But I think if it lines up well, receiver, edge rusher, whatever, and you think it makes sense, then I think you could go that route. I do like the class, though. Like, I think there's going to be talent in the teams.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really do. So, but yeah, no, I think it's a very fair question, because there are some names in particular that I think could be available, like a T. Higgins, like a Brian Burns, kind of top of my head. And maybe it's worth it just going that direction.
Now let's get into this weekend's matchup. And, we're seeing a Philadelphia defense that has struggled mightily, especially over the last, 5-6 games. And we're seeing all the headlines, hearing all the sound bites from Philadelphia, talk radio. And we're seeing some real soggy hoagies in people's, Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, because they're crying still about the tampering charges that the Arizona Cardinals were able to figure out on draft night. How do you view this? Did Jonathan Gannon, did he ruin everything in Philadelphia? He cost them the Super Bowl. He cost them Vic Fangio. He's a bad man, and he needs to pay on Sunday. How do you see this playing out? Or how did you see it play out for Gannon and crew?
Be very fascinating. Like I think we will learn a lot about how everyone feels about that. If Philly is like still trying to score late in the fourth quarter of this game, like I thought it was interesting when Mike McDaniel was up, what was it, like 35-3 against the Commanders and scored. He ran the ball on 4th and goal to score a touchdown. I was like, okay, clearly he didn't love his time in Washington. Like stuff like that, I think does jump out. So maybe we will see some of that. Is it chippy? Are they scoring late? Whatever. My understanding, though, is that they love getting in that building. Obviously, they were not happy with him talking, before the Super Bowl happened. Clearly, they got draft pick compensation for a reason, and it had to be kind of bad because, newsflash, like it happens every offseason. Guys are probably talking too early. Clearly it was maybe further than a lot of people go. But everyone I've spoken to there was like, the guy is an energy guy. We knew he was going to be a head coach. We love him. I didn't meet him in Minnesota, but we crossed paths in Minnesota, and everyone said the same thing there. Like, I think he's a good guy. But yeah, I mean, I think we will learn a lot about how they feel about that whole thing. But no, I don't think that he was so distracted he didn't game plan for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that it just the field turf stunk, and it was a bad matchup because of the quick pass rush not getting home, things of that nature. And I think Gannon is probably sitting there saying, I clearly wasn't that bad because look at the defense this year.
Yeah. I mean, they got Philadelphia this weekend, then they have Seattle, who's in the playoff mix in week 18. We talked about it on yesterday's show. This is a team that still could end up picking first overall. We chatted briefly about the Denver Broncos off air, and you think about like the rebuild timeline for the Cardinals. Do you feel like the Cardinals are taking this rebuild in full stride? Do you think that they're going about it the right way? Like the new GM, new head coach, clearing the books, multiple picks, whereas some of these other franchises, for better or worse, middling 5-6 wins every year, would you sign up for the Cardinals being a team on the rise this offseason should they push the right buttons?
Yes, 100%. I think Monty Ossenfort has had one of the best first off seasons for a GM I've seen in a while, of just understanding where you're at and building through the context of where your roster starts. They could have tried to, and I know Kyler was hurt, but they could have tried to be like, hey, we're close. And, a lot of the things we heard from Kai in the last couple of years, they could have sold themselves that bill of goods. And, coaches come in, GMs come in, and they think like we always as fans, oh yeah, just tank, it'll be fine. I'm like, no, they're now sitting there saying my record as the top dog is 2-13 or whatever it is. Like that doesn't leave you, when you move throughout your NFL career. But I think that they, trading back and getting extra capital, all the things they did just showed to me they understood the long-term vision here. We probably talked about taking a BJ Ojulari and a Garrett Williams, guys that you knew weren't going to play in week 1, but you thought their talent maybe was better than the draft slot because of injury, stuff like that. Like everything to me seemed long-term, and I think that was the appropriate approach. Yeah, I'm bullish on them going forward. No matter what they do at quarterback, whatever, I like what they're doing, the direction they've shown. I like the coaching staff too. I know it's been ugly, but I consistently see, we talk about it, scripted plays, red zone, areas where coaching can show up. They've been good. It's just the talent is not there yet.
You've been so generous with your time, but I want to sneak one more question in because Adam Hogue, great host of CHGO Bears, told us last week that if Cardinals fans wanted Marvin Harrison Jr., the safest team to select first overall is the Chicago Bears. Do you share that sentiment with Hogue?
Yeah, I do. It's just like the decision is being made for Chicago. Like you can't pass on quarterback at 1.01 2 years in a row. I know it's not their own pick. I mean, their own's still going to be top 10. But yeah, I think that's fair. I don't see a scenario where Chicago gets the first pick from Carolina and does not take a quarterback.
Love to hear that. Love to hear his work at profootballfocus.com at PFF_Brad. Brad Spielberger, friend of the program. Thank you so much for the time today, my guy.
Thank you, guys.
Love our time with Brad. Nothing but the best. Again, check his workout. Top free agents, profootballfocus.com. Always bringing the heat. Always giving you immense value. Speaking of value, the value is there at Desert Financial Credit Union, the official credit union, the Venerable household, as well as the Arizona Cardinals. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make life better. Look for Desert Financial for checking, savings, mortgages, credit cards, investment options, and more. You got a little holiday cash you want to put away? They can help you out. And if you're an Arizona sports fan, there's no better place than to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place you can show your team spirit every single time you make a purchase. Check them out with the exclusive the elusive Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. Represent the Red Sea today. DesertFinancial.com/Cardinals, Bo, to get started.
Just found out something unbelievable. Logged on to ShadyRays.com and saw that it was 50% off site-wide right now. Their Black Friday sale is back. They're just going rogue. They're just like, we're going to have a Black Friday sale right before the beginning of the first of the year.
Love it.
Unbelievable. Love Shady Rays. 50% off the classics. Shop those now. The Allure. How about the Talon? $38. $38. You're going to get these premium polarized shades on your face, and you're going to look awesome while you're doing all your adventuring. How about the Navigator? You look like you're Maverick and Goose about to go take down some bogeys up there in Top Gun, and you could do it for just $48. Shop now. You headed up to Flagstaff. You're going up to the White Mountains. Maybe you're going to go do some snowboarding, some skiing. Get yourself some sweet-looking snow goggles right now. 30% off snow goggles, 50% off tangle-free sunglasses. You got the long, luxurious hair like Johnny Venerable. You don't want your hair getting tangled in your sunglasses. We got premium polarized shades that are tangle-free and 50% off right now. Shop right now. Black Friday sale is back right now. ShadyRays.com. You can check them out up in Carolyn Commons in North Scottsdale. See for yourself. They'll even honor your PHNX promo code that you just tell the sales associate, and they'll give you 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses. See why 250,000 people have rated it 5 stars online. ShadyRays.com.
Lots of takeaways from Brad. The imminent one, the immediate one is T. Higgins not going to be an Arizona Cardinal. When I hear first round pick plus a new contract plus X, Y, and Z, it's like, no thanks. Like maybe if you're Justin Jefferson, but then again, like why would they trade him? So it sounds like the Cardinals, that's why it's so imperative they get Marvin Harrison Jr. because otherwise, I mean, yeah, there are other receivers in this draft, but you got to get a free agent wide receiver. And man, T. Higgins, that sounds like no dice for the Redbirds.
When you hear that, like, does it feel daunting to rebuild this room? Because it's going to be more than Marvin Harrison Jr. We lost in the sauce as far as the top player in the country out of Columbus, number 18. And then we see like a great wide receiver draft class, but it's going to take more than that to rebuild this room. I mean, we've broken it down to where, they have 3 players at that position under contract beyond this season. They've got Rondell Moore, who we mentioned. I mean, he's got under 300 yards receiving in 15 games. And then you've got Michael Wilson, who's missed 4 games in his rookie year when he was tabbed kind of an oft-injured player. And then Zach Pascal, who's more of a special teams player. So you've got 2 receivers. Yeah. And so you've got to add 5 receivers to this roster. Hopefully they really consider bringing back a Greg Dortch because of his versatility, his adaptability, his playmaking ability, and they can figure something out to bring back Dortch. And then you add that guy to the room. You probably spend one of your other 13 draft picks later in the draft on another wide receiver, and you get a couple guys via free agency. But, when Brad's breaking it down and you see the top tier names out there and you get excited, but it's like, who's really going to become available? T. Higgins, like you said, it's a steep price. First round pick and an extension. You've got, the Calvin Ridley one I think is intriguing. Like, could he become available and could you just throw a bag at him and potentially bring him here? But then you run the risk of, is he going to bust? Like, has he been worth it? So
Deuce
you've got
in the chat.
What's up with Deuce?
Yeah, $5. K1 has no shortcomings. He has a short regular season and a small wide receivers. Love the number 15 poster in the back. Bo, Neil Lomax would approve. Absolutely. One of our classics at the PHNX studios with a classic jersey.
The Grand Cannon.
Can't go wrong with it. I think it's interesting. That piece stood out to me with Brad, the free agent market as a whole. We assume these guys are going to get paid. I also I love the crescendo, the cherry on top at the end of that conversation. Everybody not named Meatball Man in Chicago think that the Bears are pivoting off to Justin Fields. Of course they are. Of course that's happening.
Yeah.
Like this is going to turn
How
us.
dare you, Greg Braggs Jr.
No, I'm just talking about
just soliciting people throwing meatballs at him in the streets.
I'm allowed to call them meatball fans. CHGO put out a clip with Corey Wooten, ex-Bears defensive end, good player. I think went to Wake Forest. Basically saying Justin Fields is better than right now Caleb Williams and Drake May. And it's got, I think, 770 retweets, and they're all pro, like, this guy knows football, Bear fans. A lot of them have Justin Fields in their avatar title. Yeah. And it's just like that's just white noise. And I can appreciate, players like Justin Fields. He's a likable guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Caleb Williams or Justin Fields, like what are we doing here? And it's great to Brad's all about the numbers. He has no agenda or anything like that. It's just like, you don't know what to pay Justin Fields. You get Caleb Williams for no money, assuming he wants to go there. I'm on Twitter all the time, so I get, poisoned with that narrative. And then I listen to real people, and it's just like, no, they're not going to consider doing that. They're going to take a quarterback first overall. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, look, Justin Fields has an electric skill set. There's no doubt about it. Like quarterbacks that can get out and are athletic and have the running talent that Justin Fields has, like there's always going to be people in his corner, right?
Yeah.
And he can put up, and you can spin the numbers. You can say, look, he's an even better passer than what the eye test tells you. But there are certain throws that Caleb Williams already possesses at the college level that Justin Fields will never be able to make.
Correct.
That's how it goes. Like Justin Fields has benefited, at least he benefited last week from a couple dropped interceptions, going up against some poor defenses. And like, you can survive at the NFL level and playing, the most important, toughest position in all of sports sometimes with a skill set like that. But as far as when it comes down to when you get to the next level and you need those throws that, we talked about to be made, he's not going to make them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to say, okay, well, we had the opportunity to pivot to a guy that projects to be that. And like Brad said, the 90th percentile that Kyler Murray's in, like it's tough. These are all projections and potential, but I still think that when you're at this crossroads with Fields, where I feel like you're not necessarily at the same crossroads with Kyler Murray, he's gone through his maturation and he's, improving more than Justin Fields. And he's not at the entering the fourth year and you have to make a decision on his fifth year option. Like this just seems like it makes too much damn sense for a clean break between Fields and the Bears and them to pivot to Caleb Williams.
Say what you want about Kyler Murray. He got Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim to the playoffs in the NFC West. Justin Fields, if Eberflus is fired and they bring Fields back, would be on his third head coach. No playoff appearances. Like it's unheard of. Say it out. Just say it out loud, Bear fans. AZ Heat 85. Bears are deaf taking a quarterback. The only people who don't know it are Bear homers.
Yeah.
I think that's very well put. And listen, we can wear rose-colored, cardinal-colored glasses on this podcast, and we can overvalue our own and devalue others. But at the end of the day, it's like, I love Chicago. I love the passion and the fan base. But like Marvin Harrison Jr. is not going to change your franchise if you're Chicago. Caleb Williams has an opportunity to do that. Just like the conversation you and I had yesterday. It's like, I love Kyler Murray. I want him to be the quarterback of this team. If they're presented with an option to draft Caleb Williams 1-1, they are going to evaluate that seriously. And that's with Kyler Murray infinitely more proven and secure now under contract than Justin Fields.
Well, yeah. And like after you just went through the maturation, right? And you took your lumps through Kyler Murray's early career as far as that. And you can debate, what of that was valid and one of it was, just mudslinging planted in leaks and reports from various, I guess, former members of the previous regime trying to make themselves look good and the quarterback look bad. But, you would restart that with another probably young, immature guy who we've already seen before the pre-draft process even began, has an idea of who he is when he hasn't proven anything at the next level. Like things like, he could potentially not go to the team that wants to draft him number 1 overall, or he could potentially want part ownership, which is ridiculous, whatever NFL team, drafts him, which, you can start to really weed that out during this pre-draft process. And hopefully he backtracks.
Didn't win big games in college football. I
Right.
mean, like Kyler Murray's in the college football playoff. Justin Herbert won a Rose Bowl. Trevor Lawrence, national championship games. Like that has to mean something. And Drake May and Caleb Williams don't check those boxes. Jaden Daniels has accomplished more than both of those guys at the collegiate level in terms of winning big games. So,
yeah.
And that's like, I get it. It's about what translates to the NFL. We're going to do a mock draft here in a second. We're going to tell you what translates for the Arizona Cardinals atop the first round. But first, I want to tell everybody about the Arizona Lottery right now. Best time post-Christmas, pre-New Year's Eve. You want to hit it big. Check out the holiday scratchers. Just one single dollar. Top prizes up to $500K. Again, the scratchers are over for Christmas, but New Year's Eve, who doesn't love a good New Year's Eve party? Start dishing them out like candy. Start dishing them out like cards, holiday scratchers. You got to be 21 years and older to play. And if we get asked this all the time, I want to grab some, where do I go? Circle K, baby. Friend of the program, partner of the program, or check them out, ArizonaLottery.com. Perfect holiday gift. The holidays, we're in that weird period in between Christmas and New Year's Eve, and it's like, I just want to get my scratchers, baby. Circle K, holiday scratchers. Check them out.
Yeah, I got a $2 Snow Much Fun Players Club scratcher. Let's see. Got a winner. We are going to be able to get another $2 Snow Much Fun holiday scratcher from Arizona Lottery at AZ Lottery on social media. Also, love to tell you about our friends over at OG's Brands. Check out what OG's Brands can do for you. Everybody's looking for specific cannabis experience, looking for something specific from their gummy. You don't want just a one-size-fits-all gummy experience. It can go wrong for many of us. I've been there before. It sucks. It's the worst. You swear off cannabis products for a long time. OG's isn't going to put you there. They're going to launch new products with the live rosin. You got the RSO, the Rick Simpson oil, OG's Naturals, and the big OG's. Check out the Naturals. They're vegan gummies made with live. Is it rosin? Available in sweet clementine flavor. That sounds pretty delicious. Meanwhile, you got the big OG's. The gummy is a mega version of Pig's Raspberry Orange, the RSO, one of the company's most popular products. It's perforated into 10 slices each with 10 milligrams of THC, a total of 100 milligrams of THC. It's just like a freshly squeezed live rosin created through the pressing process. My God, like that just sounds fancy. And I want to be a part of it. We're fancy boys. Check out more, find out more about it. ogsbrands.com. Check out their full product line of gummies at OG's Brands, and also head over, follow them on socials at OG's Brands.
Our guy Merv, always busting a move. $5 super chat. Friend of the program. Hollywood season is most likely over. He was on a podcast earlier today. Might be resigned, but didn't make a good case, in my opinion. I think he's disappointed. I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, I'm sure they'll have conversations this offseason, but yeah.
What podcast was he on? Love to hear that, Merv. That's good insight. He's out there doing pods.
Here's bad insight
on the practice field.
You want some bad insight? From Merv's good insight to some bad. Be shocked to hear that Mike Florio, Pro Football Focus, has a clickbaity article up, basically saying that Kyler Murray potentially has an illness to keep him out of practice, to shut him down so the Cardinals can keep their options open.
There he goes again. Mama, there goes that man.
There
Mike
goes
Florio with his disaster takes. That's awful. Just, Mike, you don't know anything about this organization. You don't. You've proven that several times over. When you tried to roast Monty Ossenfort for supporting Kyler Murray for his statue unveiling, and then Monty just made sweet, sweet music during the NFL draft that you said he wasn't going to be prepared for. Just stop.
Gannon would be one and done fired.
Close the laptop. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Stop tweeting. Put the app down.
Yeah, put it down. And let Chris Sims do all the talking on whatever your podcast is.
We're going to talk about some prospects here. We've got the PFF Mock Draft Simulator. It's a PFF banner show today with Brad and the Mock Draft.
Can I say something real quick? How heartbreaking
is
it? How heartbreaking is it when you get app notifications for your fantasy football team that died last weekend? Isn't it heartbreaking? You hate it?
Well, I haven't participated in fantasy since the regular season ended. So I can't relate.
Yeah.
I was spared Waffle House, and that's a win enough for me.
That is a win, and I'm proud of you. You fought your ass off. It just told me like TJ Hawkinson's out. Well, thank you. I'm in the toilet bowl now. I'm in the consolation round.
Welcome,
I'm
friend.
not setting my lineup any longer. All right. How many rounds are we doing? Let's do 3.
I think we're doing 3. Cardinals only. We haven't done one of these, fair warning, since the Cardinals ended up with pick 2. So it could get a little spicy here. So we're going to start this draft. What do our friends in Chicago do? Oh, look, they take Drake May first overall. So we're going to pretend in this scenario that Caleb Williams gave him the double bird and said, I'm not playing for you, which I don't think. Let's talk about this situation for a second, Bo. Caleb Williams refuses to go to Chicago. Do you think that makes Austin Ford excited that he would come to Arizona? I don't.
I mean, he's really like if he's gonna dig in, he's like, I'm going to dictate where I'm gonna go. Bad start to his NFL career. But look, I saw the reports that Washington is all in on him, and he played at Gonzaga there at the high school level in the Washington, D.C. area. Maybe that makes him more comfortable with the area, but we don't know much more about this new ownership group that took over for Dan Snyder. So, like, could you go to Washington? Could you go to New England and get them and really kind of scare them into believing that somebody's going to jump ahead of them to take the Caleb Williams? Like, them taking Drake May just took the Arizona Cardinals' ability to get an absolute king's ransom in return for the second overall pick and still being in prime position to get a legit player, hopefully still Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think the play here is to make Washington sweat it out, to call bluff, say, hey, we got to deal with New England. You got to come up. And I think in this scenario, I'm telling you right now, I think it's a 2-3. I think you tell Washington, hey, we want the San Francisco Bears package of a couple of years ago when the Bears came up one spot for Trubisky. It was either 2 2s or a 2-3. And they've got 2 2s for a reason. They jet setted, Montez Sweat to Chicago, coincidentally enough. So I actually, like, we have to force this trade. I think this is a realistic situation.
Don't you think you could get more from New England? I mean, I don't want to get greedy here, but don't you think?
Well, but the problem then is, does Washington then take Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean, I'm fine with doing that, but it's like you would need 4. I think you'd need their 1 next year, and I think you would need their 2
for sure.
But I don't know if that's not enough for me to pass on Marvin Harrison Jr. An extra 1 in 2025. I don't like that deal.
Okay.
You like that deal? I don't like it.
Yeah, a future 1.
Over Marvin, though? What happens if the Patriots win?
The rebuild doesn't end this offseason. As bullish as I am on this team getting better this offseason, the rebuild, it continues on. If you can get future assets.
I'm trumping you. I am not passing on Harrison Jr. for a future 1 by itself. You want to talk about a 1 next year and a 1 in 2026, whatever.
All right.
I don't want to do this Houston thing again where, hey, look, New England's better. They're picking 18th again. And then there's Cardinals that don't have a number 1 receiver. This is the play. This is the trade. We're forcing it. It's happening. Resume draft. Caleb Williams goes to Washington, which means Marvin Harrison Jr. Wouldn't it be funny if they had taken Marvin Harrison Jr.? He goes to the Cardinals, 3rd overall.
You're moving so fast here. Johnny Conservative moving really fast here after he pulled off his safe trade, where I was about to get you guys so much more. But I love it. Look, Cardinals, they get a couple extra assets this draft, and we're doing a 3-round mock draft, so we got another 2nd and another 3rd, right?
Yeah, we love to see it.
Yeah, we're making a ton of picks. Is it 8 picks in the top 3 rounds? That's unbelievable. And Marvin Harrison Jr. It's Monty mock draft right now. That's what we're doing. Monty Ossenfort, Monty mock draft. And Rome Dunzier, he's there. Johnny, at one point this season, wanted to make a play for 2 wide receivers. But look,
I wouldn't hate this situation.
This is easy to me. This is easy to me. You take Dallas Turner, the TFL machine out of Alabama. I think he's your guy coming off the edge for the Cardinals with the Houston Texans pick.
I'm with you. Poetic to get Larry Fitzgerald's successor 20 years later after he was drafted. Poetic to get Will Anderson Jr.'s successor 1 year later. The storylines, they write themselves. Dallas Turner, I'm with you. I think he's going to have a banner college football playoff. Cardinals at pick 34, we're getting a good look at what folks think about Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. Bo, I think the situation, again, is increasingly clear. It's got to be the corner from Georgia or the tackle from Washington. The Cardinals have opted to go offense, defense. Do you pivot back to offense here?
Yeah, Lassiter is tantalizing. Then you talk about tackles. Jordan Morgan from U of A? He's just down there too. Probably go Lassiter just because you need a cornerback. You just released Marco Wilson. You've got, sure, you can be encouraged by Keitrell Clark and Starling Thomas, but still you got to find like a starting caliber type corner. And I think you can do that by taking the dog from the SEC.
I love that we rolled the dice there, and then our boy from Washington still available. He can play guard this year if you wanted to roll it back with DJ Humphries. Now, Mitchell from Texas is intriguing, and I would have no issue if you have a couple extra picks on day 2 going back to that well at wide receiver. But for the sake of this, I am going BPA, in my opinion, a first-round caliber tackle/guard, and get mean up front. The Arizona Cardinals now back on the clock, pick 66 and 67, back-to-back, Bo. What do we owe the pleasure, the privilege here? What do the Cardinals do? Pick 2 players. Have some fun here in the 3rd round.
Yeah, we still have 4 more selections just in the 2nd and 3rd rounds alone. Jonathan Brooks is a guy who tore his ACL that was one of the best backs in the country that could kind of have a red shirt year with James Conner coming back. But is it too early here? Probably too early. And there's a ton of backs still on the board. So let's not dabble just yet. Maybe another SEC corner and DJ James out of Auburn had a decent year. Please, like, I still, when you hover around a linebacker like Jeremiah Trotter Jr., it still gives me like PTSD from the Keim days. And we still haven't addressed the defensive line. Like, the defensive line needs so much help. Is there anybody on the interior of the defensive line that can be an immediate impact maker?
I think that's probably for these later 2 picks.
Okay.
I mean, we got an edge rusher, and that helps exponentially. But yeah, I'm with you. I think man, looking at this, this would be a scenario in which, man, would not bode well for the Cardinals just because you have back-to-back.
I'd probably go with DJ James, the corner out of Auburn, then start to flood the position.
I don't hate that. He needs to put on some weight. Maybe you can rotational guy the first year. Looking at this, the Cardinals have an opportunity, I think, to add defensive line and a back at a different spot.
McMillan out of Washington at the wide receiver position, not a bad idea.
Listen, hear me out. Let me look at this real fast.
Get out of here, dude.
You don't have any interest in
Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? They produce a ton of talent out of Iowa for the tight end position.
You don't have any interest in this?
If we venture into like are we in the 3rd round yet?
We are. But we're at the top of the 3rd.
Yeah.
Here's what I get to pick this pick because I'm going to tell you right now, the Cardinals need help at receiver. Have you watched this kid play?
It's the former ASU player, right?
I know. That's why I'm asking you.
All right.
Yeah, had a good year. And his yards per catch, I think, was limited by their quarterback play. I'm gonna go potential here.
What's his height?
What's that? He's over 6 foot.
Okay.
I think he's 6 foot even or 6'1". He's 6'1". I think this is the sweet spot. You want to gamble another, not Michael Wilson S type of player, SEC wide receiver over 6 foot. Check that box for me. And again, a lot of these same options now available, Bo.
Yeah. Let's keep going here. I would have gone McMillan over kid out of Florida.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, limitations though, separating. I would. That's fine. You're flipping a coin there. I don't have an issue with that. I do think that though, this is a position where you could look at this kid from Clemson
for sure. And then the kid out of UConn is a top-rated guard.
Yeah,
where I know you like the position flexibility. The tackle out of Washington, but still, I mean, left guard has been a kind of an issue, kind of a revolving door for the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe Christian Haynes here, get yourself some offensive line depth.
Let's do it. I don't have an issue with that at all. You get one of the best interior offensive linemen in the draft. Now with their last pick in the 1st round, I think we can just 3rd round. Excuse me. I think we can have some fun here. Everybody in the chat, what do you like? Donovan Edwards, one of my favorite players in the draft, but Trey Benson's fantastic. I mean, like, if this falls to the Cardinals like this, you can pencil in right now. Pick 80 is going to be a bad.
I think this has been a big miss, though, that we haven't gotten any defensive linemen. I really do.
The board, you got to go where the board falls, though. We're not gonna reach. If we reach, then we're gonna be rebuilding forever.
All right. So we're gonna with James Conner on the roster, you pick his successor, and I think that's between Benson and Edwards. They're both bigger body backs.
Yeah, I love Donovan
2 to
Edwards.
3 down guys.
I mean, he is just an absolute monster. He had a much better 2022. I think he's going to have a great college football playoff. I think he's fresh. We've taken Benson before for the sake of this mock, I mean, is that good value though? I don't know. For the sake of this mock, are you cool if we take Donovan Edwards?
You've been just shooting from the hip all draft. So go ahead, Monty, mock draft.
We're not going to do well from a grading standpoint. I know that, but you know what? Not everybody loved the Michael Wilson pick last year. Not everybody loved what Monty Ossenford did, rounds 1 through 7 last year. So you can't please everybody. Let's see how we did with the mock draft simulator. A+, A minus A minus B, B, and a D. Still didn't bring our average down. You like what you see here? Would you sign up for this draft tomorrow?
No. Need defensive line. We need beef. Unless Monty goes absolutely crazy in free agency for the beef up front, this would be inexcusable.
No, I think this is great. I love this all. I love this a lot. I think they can roll with Roy Lopez. Would enjoy that immensely. We're gonna download this. We'll put it on Twitter, and check it out. Good stuff, man. You know what else is good stuff? I'm not fired. I'm hired. I'm promoted. Check out GoPHNX.com. Become a diehard today. Pick up a free hat and or shirt. Just got a text from our guy, Howard Balzer. New article is live. So the minute this show's over, check it out. GoPHNX.com. Don't read Mike Florio and his conspiracy theory Cardinals article. Read our guy, Howard Balzer, Bo. And in the meantime, if you go, pick up a free hat and or shirt from the merchandise locker when you become a diehard today.
That's right. Like the hat Johnny has on, the hat that I have on, that producer Eric has on right now. Johnny's got the throwback, the point guard. Did you get that
we
for
need
99
I'm trying to
cents?
do good vibes for the Suns. We don't have a point guard this year. We need one. I'm praying to the point guard.
They just need a point guy. If they potentially Colt McCoy's available, he's pointing that guy is in preseason. Hey, he's open. I'm throwing it to this guy.
Legitimately, just one of the
poor
worst jokes.
Colt McCoy taking a ricochet shot here at the end of the show. No, absolutely. Sign up, become a diehard today. Go PHNX.com. Get the merch at the PHNX Locker. Appreciate it, everybody. We're close to the end of the year. So appreciative. Everybody making this a banner year at PHNX Sports and PHNX Cardinals, our biggest year yet, and it's just getting started here. Become a diehard today. And of course, get in that member Discord because the fun doesn't stop at the showtime. It's always going on there in the member Discord. For Johnny Venerable, for Eric Ruby, our producer today, Damon Dog, have a blast at the Alamo Bowl tonight. Do not hammer like 100 beers. Be careful. Mix in some water, for God's sake.
Hydrate, young man.
Yeah, and hopefully the Wildcats get the dub tonight against Oklahoma. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you Friday. Full game preview tomorrow on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.